Welcome to AfriFreedom Channel, where we uncover the truth, celebrate African resilience, and highlight stories that matter to the soul of our continent. If you're passionate about Africa's liberation, sovereignty, and future, you're in the right place. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more relevant and important updates like this one. Your engagement keeps us going, and your voice matters. We urge you to drop your thoughts respectfully in the comment section. We want to hear from you, because your voice is part of the movement. Disclaimer. The following content is for educational and informational purposes only. It aims to provoke thought, encourage discourse, and reflect on socio-political developments in Africa. The views expressed herein do not promote violence or hatred. We encourage respectful and constructive dialogue in the comment section. On May 17, 2025, a powerful moment in African history unfolded. The Thomas Sankara Memorial was officially unveiled in Burkina Faso.
En tout cas, le mausolée ou le mémorial Thomas Sankara sera donc un lieu de souvenir, un espace de réflexion, d'éducation et d'action concrète, mais c'est également un lieu pour maintenir la flamme de la révolution, un lieu également du pan-africanisme et un lieu, en tout cas, pour se ressourcer donc des idéaux du capitaine Thomas Sankara, le père de la révolution d'août 1983. Donc, actuellement, c'est la visite au niveau du mausolée. Le mausolée donc qui est ouvert aux autorités ici présentes pour cette cérémonie. Et à l'issue donc de la visite, il y aura l'écriture donc dans le livre de condoléances, et après ça, ce sera donc des interviews avec les journalistes. Mais en attendant, il faut dire, on va saluer tout ce monde venu des quatre coins du monde. Il y a donc l'Afrique tout entière. Il y a également beaucoup de pays du reste du monde. Ici, les 13 familles étaient représentées, les 13 familles, la famille Sankara. Il y a également donc les familles de 12 compagnons de Thomas Sankara. Et toutes les familles étaient représentées cet après-midi ici à cette cérémonie d'inauguration du mausolée. Le mausolée Thomas Sankara de 12 de ses compagnons tombés sous les balles assassines le 15 octobre 1987. C'était ici même le concert de l'entente qui aujourd'hui s'appelle le mémorial Thomas Sankara. Et pour l'instant, la première infrastructure qui a été inaugurée, c'est bien le mausolée. Le mausolée, vous l'avez vu juste derrière nous, en tout cas un design vraiment beau à regarder et qui, du reste, nous pouvons oser le dire, et qui est à la hauteur, à la dimension de l'Ulysse disparu de ses compagnons. Et au même moment, nous allons donc recevoir en direct depuis donc le même...
It wasn't just a ceremony, it was a symbolic resurrection of the revolutionary spirit that Sankara ignited decades ago. This event stood as a loud declaration. The ideas of Sankara were never buried, they were only dormant, now reborn with renewed energy. The memorial serves as a permanent reminder of a leader who dreamed of a self-reliant, dignified Africa. How do you feel seeing Sankara's legacy physically honored on African soil? Does this signal a broader continental awakening for you? Share your reflections in the comments. When Sankara was assassinated in 1987, many thought his vision died with him. But history has proven otherwise. Today, that vision burns even brighter, embodied in President Ibrahim Traoré, whose bold leadership is inspiring not just Burkinabés but Africans across the continent and the diaspora. Traoré, like Sankara, is refusing to bow to imperialist pressures. He is challenging neocolonial systems and calling for African sovereignty. Do you see President Traoré as a continuation of Sankara's legacy? Can one man reignite the Pan-African flame for a whole generation? We invite your thoughts below. The presence of Senegal's Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko at the memorial ceremony was more than diplomatic, it was revolutionary in symbolism. It showed unity across borders and solidarity in leadership. Sonko's attendance underlines a growing alliance among young, visionary African leaders who are resisting foreign domination and prioritizing their people. Africa is beginning to speak with one voice, a voice rooted in dignity, freedom, and accountability. Do you think this cross-border solidarity among African leaders is the dawn of a true Pan-African renaissance? Is Africa finally starting to unite not just in spirit but in purpose? In a powerful moment that echoed across the continent, President Traoré declared, "Africa is not a battlefield."
Honorable delegates, heads of state, leaders of nations, distinguished representatives of peoples great and small, I greet you not as a career diplomat, nor as a man bred for banquet halls and handshakes. I do not come to you speaking the rehearsed language of polished politics. I come to you as a soldier of my people, as a guardian of a wounded land, as a son of a continent that has carried the cross of the world, yet has never worn its crown. My name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Burkina Faso, and today I speak not only for the 22 million souls in my nation, but for a continent whose stories have been twisted, whose pain has been ignored, and whose dignity has been repeatedly auctioned off at the altar of foreign interests. Africa is not Tobago. Africa is not a battlefield. Africa is not your experiment, your puppet, your warehouse of raw materials. Africa is rising not to kneel, but to stand. And today I say before this great assembly of nations, Africa will not kneel, one on the false generosity of global politics. For decades you've sent us aid with one hand while extracting our lifeblood with the other. You build wells in our villages while your corporations drain our rivers. You donate vaccines yet patent the cures. You speak of climate action yet continue to fund the very forces that burn our forests and dry our lakes. What kind of generosity is this? The kind that feeds the mouth but silences the voice. The kind that keeps a man alive just enough to keep him dependent. We are not blind to this hypocrisy. Let me be clear, we are not ungrateful for sincere humanitarian assistance, but we reject a global order that disguises exploitation as partnership. We reject financial institutions that lend with one hand and steal sovereignty with the other. Africa no longer wants charity. We want justice. We want control over our own destinies. Too on the chains of colonialism and its modern descendants. Our wounds did not begin with us. They were inherited legacies of an empire-building madness that saw us not as humans, but chief as cargo labor tools. My ancestors were not consulted when maps were drawn with rulers and compasses in Berlin. The borders of Burkina Faso, like those of many African nations, were not carved by our ancestors, but by men who had never stepped foot on our soil, who knew nothing about languages, our tribes, or our spirits. Today, colonialism has a new face. It wears suits, it hosts forums, it signs contracts in Geneva and Paris and Washington. But it still takes without consent. It still dictates instead of dialogues. It still silences instead of listening. If you want to talk about peace, then let's begin by unlearning the arrogance that peace is something only you can teach us. 3, on resource exploitation and the myth of development. They call us developing as if the theft of centuries did not set us back, as if the gold from our lands, the diamonds from our rivers, the oil beneath our feet did not build the very skyscrapers in which this assembly sits. Let us speak plainly. Burkina Faso is rich, Africa is rich in minerals and culture and wisdom and youth. But you have taught us to measure richness in GDP and export value. You call it development when a foreign company owns 90% of a gold mine on our land. You call it progress when your security forces guard cobalt mines but not our children's schools. That is not progress, that is piracy with legal documents. From now on, we will define development on our own terms. Development that puts children in classrooms, not minerals on cargo ships. Development that respects the land, the people, and the soul of a nation. 4, on sovereignty and interference. Why is it that when an African nation makes independent choices, we are called unstable? Why is it that when we seek military cooperation outside the colonial sphere, we are labeled a threat? Burkina Faso has chosen to walk a path of sovereignty that is not a threat to peace. It is a declaration of adulthood. We are no longer under your guardianship. We are no longer your junior partners in diplomacy. We are a free people. If a nation chooses partners that respect it rather than exploit it, that is not rebellion. That is wisdom. Let it be known, no foreign power will dictate the alliances of Burkina Faso. We will build relations based on mutual respect, not historical guilt or present.
Africa is no longer your experimental ground. These words weren't just political, they were spiritual. They struck at the heart of centuries of exploitation and manipulation by foreign powers. Traoré's message is clear: Africa is reclaiming its narrative, its dignity, and its future. The days of silent submission are over. When you hear those words, Africa is no longer your experimental ground, what emotions stir within you? Is it hope? Is it anger? Is it pride? Let's open up in the comments and build this dialogue together. Africans across the continent and diaspora are watching, inspired and alert. The unveiling of the memorial wasn't just for Burkina Faso, it was for every African who believes in liberation, in justice, and in a continent that governs itself. Traoré's leadership is reigniting a collective consciousness, reminding us of what is possible when we are unapologetically African. Do you feel part of this awakening? What role do you believe you can play in this movement? Speak up in the comments. This is your revolution too. This is more than history being remembered, this is history being reclaimed. From the soil of Burkina Faso, where Sankara once stood, to the minds of millions of Africans today, the fire is rising. The unveiling of the Thomas Sankara Memorial is not just a tribute to the past, it is a call to action for the present and the future. The spirit of African freedom is no longer waiting for permission, it is demanding its place. At AfriFreedom Channel, we will continue to bring you powerful, transformative stories that inspire, inform, and ignite the fire of liberation within. Make sure you're subscribed, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your network, then leave your thoughts below. Your voice is part of this movement, and together, we rise. Until next time, stay aware, stay informed, and above all, stay free.